So generally speaking, these roadshows aren't really the place for talking about individual widgets. We like to talk about solutions, and for the most part, we will. However, this widget is just way too cool not to mention. So one of the things that's happened in our industry over the last few years, particularly when some Chinese manufacturers were strong in the U.S. market, was the cliche race to the bottom. Cameras were becoming a commodity. It was all a matter of who could deliver a certain spec at the best price. Bosch has never been that kind of manufacturer. When people buy Bosch equipment, whether it's a drill or a dishwasher or a spark plug or an IP camera, they expect a high quality product, and that's what we deliver every time. We're going to be competitive in price, but we've never been a price driven company. That said, we have to be competitive in a market that sometimes is. And so that caused us to take a look at how we can deliver a deployed system without cutting corners on the hardware. And what we found was that most of the time, about 50% of any given video project, the cost would come from parts and labor, the installation component of the system, and the other half would come from hardware. So rather than cutting corners on the hardware to save cost, we decided to attack the installation side and really drive that cost down so that we can deliver a competitive or sometimes even lower deployed system cost while not skimping on the hardware. And the 8000i is sort of the epitome of that project. So here you can see how the 8000i, forgive me, I went one slide too far. Here you can see how the 8000i installs. It's a very simple 1, 2, 3 installation concept. So step one, we're simply going to put a rugged mounting plate on the surface. It's got cable management built in. Notice the cable's already terminated. That pre-terminated cable goes into this base unit with a patent-pended grommet for sealing, even though the cable was already terminated. And then finally, the camera module itself locks the camera base into place. This module is completely sealed and IP68. There's no need to remove the bubble. It is fully motorized with pan, tilt, roll, and zoom controls. I want to be clear that this camera is not a PTZ. It is a fixed camera. It doesn't move quickly. It is not meant to move often. But what it does allow is fully remote commissioning. So as you can see, in less than 5 minutes, we've got our camera hung. We actually did some testing recently with our sales force, folks who do not install cameras for a living, and we were regularly getting install times of 5 minutes and less, even from folks who don't do this for a living. But making the camera easy to hang is not enough. So the second part is, how do we commission this camera quickly and intelligently? And so what we did is we built a special app, our Project Assistant app, specifically designed for remote commissioning so that we can get the camera up and running as quickly as possible. So here you'll see a demonstration, just some simple screenshots of Project Assistant in action with this 8000i. So here you'll see we're going to select the single camera assistant because we've only got one camera to hang here. We're going to connect wirelessly. So the 8000i has a Wi-Fi hotspot. So we can join that hotspot simply by scanning the QR code on the camera. We're now connected to the camera. We can select it. We can create a password. All Bosch cameras require a password to be set on startup. There is no Bosch default password. We're also going to name the camera. Once we've done that, we can open the image settings. We can decide how we want to set up the sensor. We can also decide any scene mode settings that we might want to adjust. And then finally, the user is going to click. Once we're on the alignment tab, you'll see the red circle where the user clicks. Now, please understand the user's not dragging the camera over. It's simply we click on a spot and then the camera automatically centers that spot. So now the user's decided that we want to rotate this into a portrait mode. So we change it 270 degrees and once again, click in the image. The camera will automatically center on that click and also handle that portrait rotation that was indicated by the installer. So already our field of view is starting to take shape. The last component to this is the field of view itself. The user is going to draw a box on the image to indicate what we want the camera to cover. And it will automatically center one more time and zoom in to accomplish the field of view that was indicated. And just like that, we have a camera that is up on the network, focused with the field of view that's desired. Finally, this installer is going to add the height. This is an important calibration component to our video analytics, which we'll show you next. And then they're going to disable the Wi-Fi. It's also important to note that the Wi-Fi is air-gapped from the actual network side of the camera, so there's no opportunity for any traffic to get through the Wi-Fi connection onto the network. As you can see, the entire commissioning process is just a handful of clicks in 1 minute and 45 seconds. That is a real-time clip that we recorded. It is very realistically possible, once the cable is pulled, to install and commission these cameras inside of 15 minutes. Compare that to typical labor rates of 60 to 90 minutes for a traditional camera. This is truly a revolution in camera commissioning and allows us to deliver a system with much higher quality hardware components and a more robust feature set from the hardware side, while still coming in equal to or lower than some of the competing lines, because we've cut into that installation cost so deeply.